go across the top again. It says, Be'inyan tefillas mincha, miyusad al pasa v'yikach min haba biyado, mincha le'esav achiv, besukim achevrim. So we're going to talk about that. So number Aleph says, he says, Drush nosef be'inyan tefillas mincha, Val piv yivur inyan mincha shel shalach Yaakov le'esav v'od besukim. Now he says like this, so reminding myself that we're dealing with Hakavanot here. He said, Bizman tefillas mincha misordim kuf gimel olamos hadin. So that's our subject here. He says, He ne noida, Masha kasa bezoyer men trumas daf kuf samas vav amad beis yisechu v'inyan osam hayesh, the 310 almim, the Sharian close kursia that dwell below the throne. There are Resh Zion communion, there are 207 communion or, which is a gematria of the word or, which is kind of interesting here, Besitra the Yamina, which or refers to the right line. The Kuf Gimel Olamos Besitra the small, Bira Inyan the Zechan is Boyer Makomo, we're going to get that in its place. Let's read one more because it's in the same topic. So he said, 1 second. So he says, Amnam, Osam Kuf Gimel Olamos, the Bistar Smola, which are on the left line, Haim Gematria Mincha, they come to the Gematria of Mincha. So he says that Mincha, let's say, is the number 103. The fish Haim misorder them Acher Chatzos Yom, because they become aroused after midday. Asher ba'az misorder small shal Yitzchak is when the left hand of Yitzchak is aroused. So therefore it's called tefillah of mincha. Now let's see what the Tiv has to say on this, and we're starting with number bet in the light print. Issa b'zohar, so the Zohar comes and teaches us. Here we go. The Zohar comes to teach. Again, Issa b'zohar atachos kursya ilo temira. So those words underneath the upper throne, which is hidden. Sharim Inan Olamos is where you see the dwelling of these worlds. Tlas Me'av Eser Inan. And how many worlds are there? Just for my own benefit, because I haven't seen this before or not familiar with this idea. So the Zohar says, Tachos Kursiyad Ilo Temira. That's apparently the term that's used there. Sharin Inun Olamos. That's where they dwell, underneath the throne. Tlas Me'av Eser Inun, there are 310 of them. Ma'aseh Shva, there's 207. Inun Besitra the Yamina, they're on the left side. And Me'av Tlas Inun Besitra the small, and 103 on the left side, which makes 310. Adgan Lashonim. Now this, of course, needs explanation, and it says like this: Devarim. So he says, "Abir Devarim ba'olam habriya anikra olam hakese. Yeshdam shai olamos hanechlochem l'shtayim." They're both the 310 are divided into two parts. There's Raz, which is also the word for secret in Hebrew. Raz olamos communion or, which is the same gematria is the word or, which doesn't seem Raz and or. It's like a hidden light. I don't know. Shahu bechinas or kadmah. That's what it is. You and sham. So you have to go to the Zohar over there. Omdim mitzad yamim. That is, they stand on the right side. The handle shebechinasim chesed. That their basic right side means their basic nature. These 207, which is light, is chesed. For Kuf Gimel Olamos Omdim B'tzad small. It's so interesting what he's saying underneath these hidden worlds that are underneath the throne of Bina. Omdim B'tzad small the Heiler Shehem B'chinas Din. V'yachtav Heim Shai Olamos Sha'alechem Dar Shechazal Amar Rebbe Yeshua ben Levi. Asi the Kodesh Baruch Hu lahankil the called Tzaddik b'Tzaddik shlosh mechav v'asara olamos shene'emer lahankil la'uchavai yesh v'otrosechem emalek. Now, all of the metaphor here, I'm not quite sure that I got it yet, but he says, going on to the next page. And he says, Bir inyan hashai olamos nizbar b'makom acher. So he says, there is a shefa on this, and we should look at it. Ayin shefa kavanos. Aman ogea ledros shalonu. Who bir inyan akuf gimel olamos shebetzad is small shebekinosam din. The kuf kof gimel, the kuf gimel rather. All the begimatria mincha. By Inyan, the Inyan is like this. The acher chatzos yom shegavor v'noitin slali erev maskil his order Inyan the din. Misorder them osom hakuf gimel, and those 103 that are on the left side, alamos, shebetzad is small. It says sod masha yitzchak tikkun tefillas mincha, and this is the secret. Let's see what he says. Sheyitzchak tikkun tefillas mincha. So v'kevin midas gevura, so its nature is gevura. Shehiba b'chidas din is small. L'chein nikvas tefillas zucha b'shem mincha. Mincha goes with 103. Al shem akuf gimel dinim ha'olim mincha hamisorder them oz, which become aroused at the time. 1 second. Let me see if I can get something underneath this. Okay. So now we're going on to number Dalet. So still a lot. It's still not 100%. Okay, what would my question be? So Yitzchak was Kadosh. So Yitzchak was Kadosh is also the Inyan of Din, but I guess it's Din Kadosh. I'm not sure how we put it together. Tevis mincha mora ala gavuros. So the word itself really is showing us or teaching us about gavuros. But Gamda also know this. Hikihine kol hadinim heim begavuros mansapach, and not just gavuros. It's the what I think is the sweetened gavuros, which are mansapach. V'ozios man. So let's take the word mansapach and let's go. We've seen this. I think probably seen this in the Rishash where he takes the letters apart, or maybe other place. I'm not sure. V'ozios man de mincha heim shnei osios rishonos de mansapach. Moving along. So he says, Gam Noida also know this. Ki kol chamesh gevuros the mansachab chozim his kabetz b'chut mekadisha os ches. Now this is a little bit deeper. He says that they also, here comes the letter ches, which is his kabet b'chut mekadisha. He says that the nose is the symbol or is a ches. Asher sham ku makum makar kol hodinim. His bosmusim, and also their perfuming, or their sweet, we'll call it sweetening. It's later, like we say later on in this pasuk, Ba'asav ish tahor es efer hapara. Now this really has to be looked at a little bit more closely. Va'ayin sham, so go over there and look at that. So he said, Va'achakach heim nemshachem b'pum b'kedisha, then they get extended down, I was talking about the nose, I guess, into the holy mouth. Asher b'hi os hey kanoida, which is the letter hey, which are going to give you that hey in mincha. Now the one that's most difficult for me to hear right now is the ches. V'zechah shnei osios ches and hey, which form the word mincha, the last two letters. So now you have man, and you have the ches, which is the nose, and the hey, which is the mouth. V'harin is boyer eich sham b'shem mincha mora al mitzius hadinim. What it really is showing us or teaching us about the reality of the dinim shel hagavur shehem kuf gimel kaminyan mincha. Okay, let's go over and take a look at this next part, and let's start with number Dalet. I guess that's where we're at right now. Am I right in the right place? Yeah, I think. Mivar be'ir noisef. So let's talk about some more stuff. He said besod shem tefillas mincha. So we have this is really the secret on that tefillah mincha. So then he says, moving to the next page, light print, he says, get this, there we go. So osios man, the tevis mincha, romezes the shtei osios rishon is the gevuros mansapach. So those are the first two letters of the mansapach. the be'esa mincha shuhu zman din misorder the magavuros. That's where we see the gavuros are starting to come up. So he says that this number man, okay. He says that's happening now. He says la'achar shemispashtim achav misha gavuros beguf the zer anpin. So now the gavuros are spread into the body of zer anpin. Heim chozim v'diskamsim v'olam v'shorshim shebechoitim azer anpin. So I'm not really sure that I ever heard this before. We'll read it one more time. He says that after, read again, so now the Gevuros, that aspect of Das, is now spreading into Zeranpin. Now, just thinking in my own mind, that Gevuros would ultimately go to the Nukva of Zeranpin. Here we say, they gather together, and they go up the Shorsham Shebechoitim Azer Anpin, which is their root, which is in the nose of Zeranpin. So why the Hakas Hamora al Hadin hu bechotim? Because we see that anger. How do we know this? He says we know this because anger, the seed of anger, is in the nose. Commotion Amr, as it said like this: B'sham hein mismatkim. As this is the place that becomes sweetened. Kenodesh Hadinim mismatkim b'shorsham. Where are they sweetened? That's just a general rule. They're sweetened at their origin, or their root. So that's other kind of unusual. So he's gathering together the ashes of the red heifer. Ish hu zer anpin. Who's the ish? So let's go back to the words again. So v'asav ish, this ish which is zer anpin tahor as afer hapara. So ish hu zer anpin. Who osif as afer hapara, and it's the one that gathers up the ashes of the para shehem sod hachamisha gavuros the para. If you look at the word para, romezes al par. First of all, the para has the word the par dinim, which comes out of the number mansapach. V'os hey amamtakum, and the letter hey that sweetens them. And then they're elevated up into the nose. Kafishin is boyer b'shar hamitzvahs. Now this is a little tricky for me, so I don't like going backwards, but I just want to see it again. From the word v'zeh sod hakasav v'asav ish tahor as afer hapara. So what do we have? He says the word par, because the afer is also the word par, the afer hapara. But now the para is changed from afer to para. So he says, ish hu zer anpin. Who osif as afer hapara, it gathers together the ashes of the para, shehem sod achamisha gavuros. So the para is the concept of the chamisha gavuros. The para is what? Romezes al par, so there's the first part is par with a hey at the end, the par denim, which are the mansapach, v'os hey amamtakum, and the hey that sweetens them. The chotim shalo kafish and his boyer b'shar mitzvahs, as we're explaining over here in Shar mitzvahs. So so now you've brought the gavuros and you've sweetened them with this hay, apparently. Gavuros b'sharshim b'shabechotim zeranpen, heim yordan the piv shuhu besod os hay, which is the hay. So now that's how you have it now in the par. I guess it's the place of the sweetening. And then after the place that their origin, and then you have the hay which sweetens them. He says, so when we talk about the nose and the mouth, there's mazan ba'os ches, which is, he said now, is the first word of the word chotem, first letter of the word chotem. V'hei de mincha. So now you have these two letters that are part of the word mincha. Nimsa the tevis mincha romezes al dini matzapach. So now you could see from this drush how is that mincha really refers to the dinim that you find in mansapach, the zer anpen, v'ham tekasam, and their sweetening. The osius man, heim osius man, mem and nun. He says the mansapach represents the mem of the mansapach. Ha-romezes al ha-gavuros, which is a remez to gavuros. Ha-os ches heich besod ha-chotem, he besod ha-chotem, so the ches really refers to the ches of the word chotem, or ches chotem. Shalasham Olam Amansabach, which is where the sweetened dinim go, the hismatek, or the dinim go to become sweetened. Those hey, he besode the past, what does that do for me? Is there anpen? Shalasham Yordin Amansabach La'acha Mitukam. Now there's a lot in there that still needs to be talked about. Now I did say that there was a, before we go on too much, that there was a shefa that we should look at. That shefa is on page Lamed Tes. It's on page Lamed Tes. Let's get into it. It's at the bottom at number Aleph. It says, he said, Inyan Zeren is boy b'richud b'shar ma'amari Rashbi al maimer zoher zeh. This is what he says. There anpin maskil kumalsum min chetzi teferishel Eric anpin. So going back to the Sifra Ditzniuta, where he's talking about the what do you call it, the Tibur the Gufa of the keeper. What is his words? Tibur de Liba. That's it. The Tibur de Liba, which is the halfway part. Here he says again. So maybe every time that we see the word, going back to Sifra, every time we see the word Tibur, it doesn't mean the Tibur as we think about it normally in the human being, but maybe it always refers to the Tibur de Liba, and here he says it. Zer Antken Masku Kumasa Min Hetziat Fevershal Eric Anpen Hanikra Kesser. So he says Vuhu Mama the Eric Anpen is the Kesser. Vuhu Mamash Machsis Gufa the Eric Anpen the Arich of the Lamata. So he's not kidding. He says it really starts at half of the body. It goes downward. Vidach of the Kesser is also the letters, well, it's a number 320. So, 620. So it's also the word Tarach. A machsisam, if you divide it in half, you have the word yesh, or 310. But you should call parts of Arich Nikra Kesser. So just understand this, Arich is and you go to half the body, im came, Masha loke, Zer Anpin, Bimeno, what I guess when he says he takes from Zer Anpin, what Zer Anpin takes from this, Shul Machsiso, which is its half, because he's at the halfway part, Mamish, Kenitzker Hu Yesh. So this means to me that he's talking about Zer Anpin. If originally he talked about the Yesh that was below the throne of Bria. Now he said Bria is also Ima, so maybe that's what he means. So let's look a little bit more. Ve'elochem sod Yesh olamos and iskarim kan. The Lokcham Zer Anpen Hamoda Tachas Bina Kanoida, who's underneath Bina, that's what I guess we're saying here. Bina hi Bina Nikras Korsia Tabira. It's called the hidden throne. Ve'elach Yesh Olamos Hem Bechachma the Zer Anpen. Now where do they wind up? They wind up in the Chachma Zer Anpen Haomad Tachas Korsia Tamira Shuhu Ima Law, which are underneath Ima Law. So in other words, her Shefa, we're going to go into Zer Anpin, and it's going to go here. We're going to focus on the right side of Zer Anpin's head. El Kuvar Yudatu, you already know, Ki Chachma Nikras Yesh Me'ayin. Now, I don't think I necessarily knew this. He says something coming out from nothing. He said, Rotza Lomer, but here's another way to understand it. Lomer Yesh HaNimshach Mekeser HaNikra Ayin. So Keser, which is really called nothing. V'heim B'chachma Muach Yamin de Zer Anpin, and those that Shefa is going into the Chachma of Zer Anpin. V'hine heim mischalkim b'gimel sphirish heim chagat. Now that means that was a little confusing for me to understand this. I think he means to say that what goes into Chachma gets spread into the three gevuros, the three spheros, which are below the Rosh, which are Chesed, Gevur, and Tiferes. They get divided into three. Now okay, we go on. Ha'omdim tchos kursia de bina law, which are underneath bina. So he said, in other words, that the chokhmah of Zer Anpin in general, and then this is how it gets distributed in three lines. V'nimsa shehin mizchalkim kuf gimel olamos because svira mehem. So in the Chagat, which is the three lines, each one of them has a 103. Now 103 we said is the word mincha. B'shlosh pa'amim kuf gimel. That gives you an idea where the number shin Yud is, or Yud Shin, as he said 310. Tiferes rovo chesed. Understand about Tiferes. The majority of Tiferes, which is in the middle, but it's inclined to the right. So most of it is in the right. It's a chesed. He also machriya ben chesed the gevura, and the fact that it balances or marks a middle line between chesed and gevura. Who mata klape chesed. It's always inclined towards chesed. V'lechein chem mishadracha miyachad kuf gimel ulamas at Tiferes im kuf gimel shel hachesed. Ba'achshav you have the number ru or reish vav, which is 206 ulamas. The nishar kud gimel levadam l'sfiris gevura. So understand, you have the combination of chesed and Tiferes makes 207, leaves 103 left behind. That's just for the left side. So since now you have the majority of the 310 was really on the right side. So I'm not think it translated that. The other world, which I guess he means the left line. Hanishar v'odef al cheshbon shlosh pamim kuf gimel. What do we got here? V'oz naase or, and it becomes the word or, which is the number 207. So it becomes the or. He says the 207 olamos, hidden worlds, communion raz bechiber hatiferes v'chachesed, which comes about as a result of the joining together of Tiferes and Chesed. Now, a little bit of that language, I don't think I got it right. See, going back up, it says, L'chein lokim gam ha'olam ha'acher. What is the olam ha'acher? Hanishar, which remains, v'odef al cheshbon shlosh pa'amim kuf, which I guess is the extra, I guess that goes up into the count of kuf gimel. I think he's talking about the left line. Let's go on a little bit more. The fi shahat Tiferes mata klafi chesed, since Tiferes is really inclined towards chesed. L'chein hiter b'esa olam ha'yoser. So, in other words, it makes it inclines everything more, and everything gets inclined towards the right. The naasa or holamos, and that is what makes the light and the, I don't know, all the metaphor you could do here with the word or. The naasa or olamos, it makes the 207 olamos, or hidden worlds there, of the filas MINCHA. So he says that's what happens. That's the basic part. But not coming to where we're at, above the Eidos Tefillas of MINCHA, means order them kuf gimel olomos shel shfiris gevura. There, the other third, the third that's left out, that's the time when it becomes aroused. And he says kanoida ki sheme'elu shalta be'inyan MINCHA, because these are, smaller. Shalta be'inyan MINCHA. And now we're turning our focus to the 103, l'chein mincha begematria kuf gimel ad kan l'shono, and that's how we understand one of the other understandings of that number 103, which is the gematria of mincha. So we'll stop here. We'll go over the Sifra that's new.